Lesson 33, I will subtract a mixed number from a mixed number. So in our last lesson, in lesson 32, we subtracted a fraction from a mixed number. So let's talk about what the difference here is going to be. So today we're going to be subtracting a mixed number from a mixed number. So we may have something like 5 and 6/8 minus 3 and 3/8. So we're subtracting a mixed number from a mixed number. Okay, you're going to need your math journal today. I want you to go ahead and put today's date, lesson 33, subtract a mixed number from a mixed number. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and press play and we're going to get started today. All right, so first of all, we're going to think about when we subtract 4 and 3/8 minus 2 and 5/8, we're going to be counting up to solve this. Now, I want you to think about counting up for just a second without thinking about fractions for a minute. So let's think if we were doing 26 minus 21. And I said count up to solve, okay? So if I say count up to solve, that means I want you to start at 21, and I want you to count up until you get to 26. So if this were our number line, and here was 21, let's make this not part of the number line. How about this? So if this were 21, and this were 26, and I said count up. So I'd want you to come through here and go 22, 23, 24, 25, and I'd want you to count how many numbers it takes you to get here. So you would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you counted up from 21 to 26, it would be 5. Therefore, 26 minus 21 equals 5. Okay, we're going to use that same strategy, only we're going to be talking about fractions. But we're going to start at the small fraction, which is 2 and 5/8, and we're going to count up to 4 and 3/8 to see what our answer is. So in your math journal, first of all, I want you to copy this problem, 4 and 3/8 minus 2 and 5/8. And then we're going to draw a number line. Okay, our number line is going to begin at 2 because our small fraction is 2 and 5/8, and it's going to end at 5 because if we ended it at 4, we wouldn't get all the way to 4 and 3/8, so we're going to end it at 5. So we're going to go through here and we're going to put 3 and 4 in between. Now we're talking about eighths, okay? So we're going to go ahead and divide these into 8 parts. So I'm going to start by dividing it into half, and then divide it into fourths, and then divide each fourth in half to make 8. So watch that. So I'm going to divide it in half, and then I'm going to divide it into fourths. Now I'm going to divide each fourth in half so that I have 8 parts. So half, fourths, now divide each fourth in half and you have 8 parts. Okay, so we're going to begin at the small number, which is 2 and 5/8. So here's 2. So here's 2 and 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. So this is where I'm beginning right here. 2 and 5/8. Now, if I just make the big jump from 2 and 5/8 to 4 and 3/8, not going to quite be as easy to count. Let's go ahead and see where 4 and 3/8 is. It's over here, okay? So here's 4 and 3/8, and this is where we're trying to get to. The easiest way to do this is to say, okay, well, how far do I have to go to get to the next whole number? Well, the next whole number is 3. So to get from 2 and 5/8 to 3, that would be 3/8. I know that because 5/8 plus 3/8 is 8/8. I could also just count over 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. Now I'm going to go from 3 to 4, which is pretty easy, right? When you go from 3 to 4, you could say it's 8/8, or you could just say it's 1 whole. To get from 3 to 4, it's always going to be 1. Now I'm going to go to 4 to 4 and 3/8, which again is pretty easy. That would just be 3/8. So here's my answer. I've got 3/8, I've got 1 whole, and I've got 3/8. So underneath your number line, I want you to write those. 3/8 plus 1 whole plus 3/8. I can add these pretty easily in my head. I know 3/8 and 3/8 equals 6, and I'm going to add that to 1 whole, so this is going to be 1 whole and 6/8. So 4 and 3/8 minus 2 and 5/8 equals 1 and 6/8. And I use the counting up strategy to solve, okay? All right, now, in your math journal, we're going to show the same strategy, but we're going to use the arrow way. We're still going to count up. We're going to start at 2 and 5/8 like this. And I'm going to think to myself, what does it take to get from 2 and 5/8 to the next whole number? Well, the next whole number would be 3. Well, I know I would have to add 3/8 to 2 5/8 to get to 3 because 5/8 plus 3/8 equals 8/8. And 8/8 plus 2 is 1. Okay, so now I want to go from 3 to 4, which was 1 whole. And then I want to go from 4 to 4 3/8. Well, to get from 4 to 4 3/8, I had to add 3/8 again. So notice, here's those same 3 numbers that we just had on the number line. Now all you have to do is add all these together and you get 1 6/8. So this is the same strategy, except it's a little bit more efficient because you didn't have to draw the number line. But this strategy might be a little bit hard for you if you can't visualize how far it takes to get from 2 5/8 to 3. Like maybe you didn't know that it was 3/8, or maybe you didn't know it was 1 whole. In that case, you're going to want to go ahead and draw the number line so you can actually count over. All right, so let's go ahead and get our problem set, and we're going to practice through these a couple of times. Okay, we're going to look at a couple of different strategies. All right, so first of all, we're going to begin with the strategy that we just did. It says subtract by counting on. Use a number line or the arrow way to help. The first one has been partially done for you. So this is our related addition sentence. If we are counting on, we're basically saying, what do I have to add to 1 2/3 to get to 3 1/3? So this is our related number sentence. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the arrow way to solve this problem. If this is confusing for you, you might want to go ahead and draw yourself a number line to see if you can't figure this one out. All right, so I'm going from 1 2/3 to the next whole number. Well, what would be the next whole number? Well, it would be 2. So if I'm going from 1 2/3 to 2, I'm basically going from 1 2/3 to 1 3/3. So that means I'd have to add 1/3. Now I'm going from 2 to 3. So that would be 1 whole. And then I'm going from 3 to 3 1/3. So from 3 to 3 1/3 would be another third. So now all I have to do is add all of these numbers together. Well, when I add my two fractions together, I get 2/3. And when I add that to 1, I get 1 2/3. So 3 1/3 minus 2/3 is 1 2/3. And that will be the same thing here. Okay, so let's try another one. Same strategy. So we're going to start by writing the related addition sentence. So I'm going to say, well, I'm really trying to figure out 2 3/4 plus what will get me to 5 1/4. Okay, so let's start at 2 3/4. And I want to get to the next whole number. Well, the next whole number from 2 3/4 would be 3. So I'm basically wanting to know what would it take me to get from 2 3/4 to 2 4/4, which would be 3. So I would have to add 1/4. Now up here I just went from 2 to 3, but look, I'm trying to get all the way from 3 to 5. So I'm going to go straight from 3 to 5. That would be easy. I know I'm just going to add 2. Now I'm trying to get from 5 to 5 1/4, which would be 1/4. So I add my two fractions together. 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4 plus 2 is 2 2/4. So that is the counting up strategy. Okay, I'm counting up and I'm using the arrow way to help or to model how I'm counting up. Now we're going to subtract, but this time we're going to be decomposing the fractional part of the number you are subtracting. Use a number line or the arrow way to help you. Okay, so let's take a look at what they've done here. First of all, they started at 3 1/4 and they're not counting up, they're actually subtracting. The first thing they did was they subtracted the whole numbers. They took 3 minus 1, and that's how they got this 2 1/4. So let's start by drawing a number line here to show us what we're going to do here. So this time we're not going forwards, we're actually subtracting, we're going backwards. So I'm going to start with 1, and I'm going to take my number line all the way to 4, because if I stop at 3, I'm not going to get all the way to 3 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 and 3. My fractions are fourths, so I'm going to go ahead and divide all of these into 4 parts. Okay, so I'm beginning at 3 1/4. So I'm beginning right here. 3 and 1/4. And the first thing we did was we just took away the whole number. So we just went back one whole like this. So when you subtract 1, that's going to take you to 2 and 1/4. Okay, we were at 3 and 1/4. Now we're at 2 and 1/4. Okay, now I still have to take away this 3/4. So I want you to look at what they did. They said, well, I can't take 3/4 from 1/4. So they decomposed 3/4 into 1/4 and 2/4 because you can easily take away 1/4. Look at what happens. When you're right here at 2 and 1/4 and you take away 1/4, that takes you right here to 2. Now I have to take away 2 more fourths. So I'm going to go back 2 more fourths like this. And now I'm going to see where I landed. So I'm at 1 and 1/4. I end up at 1 and 2/4, which is the answer here. So you might be saying, huh? Which is okay. Let's try one more and let's see what this does, okay? Okay, so this time we're going to do 4 and 1/5 minus 2 and 4/5. So the first thing we've got is we have to estimate how big we're going to make our number line by thinking about what's our answer going to be close to. So if I think of 4 and 1/5, and you don't have to write this, but I'm going to write it just so you can kind of see my thinking. I have 4 and 1/5, that's about 4. And I've got 2 and 4/5, which is about 3. So I know my answer is going to be close to 1. So that tells me that when I draw my number line, I have to at least start with 1, and I've got to go all the way to 5. If I don't, my number line's not going to be big enough. So I'm going to go from 1 to 5. I'm going to go ahead and put 2, 3, 4 in here. 2, 3, 4. And these are fifths, so I have to draw 4 lines. I'm going to go ahead and do this in a different color so they're easier to see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are my fifths, okay? So remember, the first thing that we're doing here is we're trying to take away this 2 wholes. So I've got 4 and 1/5 minus 2 wholes. So let's find 4 and 1/5. Here's 4. Here's 4 and 1/5. And I'm going to take away 2. So that's going to take me to 3 and 1/5 and then to 2 and 1/5. So if you look at what I just did there, I just went from 4 and 1/5 minus 2, which would take me to 2 and 1/5. Okay, so now I've got 2 and 1/5. I've already taken away this 2. I still have to take away 4/5. So here's where the decomposing comes in. I can't take 4/5 from 1/5. So I'm going to decompose this into 1/5 and what's left over, which would be 3/5. Now the reason why I decompose this way is because I can take away 1/5 from 2 and 1/5, and that's just going to take me to the next whole number, which is 2. Now I'm going to take away 3/5. 1, 2, 3. And look at where I end up. I end up at 1 and 2/5. Okay, so you might still be like, huh? But hopefully you'll be just a little less, than you were on B. So let's try one more. Okay, so again, I'm going to draw my number line. We are subtracting. That's the method that we're using here. So I've got to use a little bit of an estimate here so that I know how big to make the number line. So 5 and 3/7 is about 5, and 3 and 6/7 is about 4. So my answer is going to be close to 1, so that means that I've got to start my number line again with 1, but I have to go all the way to 6 this time. So I'm going to go to 6 and begin with 1. So I'm going to come through here and put 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and I am dividing these into sevenths this time, so that means 6 tick marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so again, we're beginning by subtracting this whole number. So I begin at 5 and 3/7, and I'm going to take away 3. So here's 5. 5 and 1/7, 5 and 2/7, 5 and 3/7 right here. So here's 5 and 3/7, and I'm taking away 3. So when I take away 3, 5 minus 3 is 2. So that's going to put me at 2 and 3/7 because I didn't do anything to the fraction. I just took away 3 wholes. So I'm going to jump -3 right here. Okay, so now I took away the 3 and I'm left with 2 and 3/7, and I still have to subtract 6/7. So -6/7. So here's where I'm going to decompose 6/7. I'm going to decompose it into 3/7 because I can take away 3/7, and then I'm going to put another 3/7 because together that makes 6/7. So I decomposed 6/7 into 3/7 and 3/7 because right here I can take away 3/7 like this. Okay, now I've just got to take away 3 more 7s. So that would be 1, 2, 3, and that would put me right here. So here's another 3/7. And let's see where I end up. So I'm at -3/7, minus 3 more 7s. That puts me at 1 and 4/7. Okay, so I subtracted the whole number, and then I subtracted 3/7 twice. And that put me at 1 and 4/7. So this is a subtracting method. Okay, and I was decomposing the number that I was subtracting, which was 6/7. Okay, so that's another strategy. So far we've done the counting on strategy, and this is a subtraction strategy. All right, now we're going to do another strategy. This one, again, we're subtracting, but we're decomposing to take one out. So let's take a look here at what they did this time. So they started with 5 and 3/5 minus 2 and 4/5. Okay? And they started by subtracting the whole number. So you can see they ended up with 3 and 3/5. In the last strategy, we were decomposing this. But in this strategy, they decomposed 3 and 3/5. And what they did here is they took out a whole like this. And they said, okay, well, this is the same thing as 5/5. So I can say 5/5 and then subtract 4/5 from this. And that's going to leave me with 1/5. Now all I have to do is add this back to my original number. So I'd have 2 and 3/5 plus 1/5, and that gives me the answer, which is 2 and 4/5. Okay, so let's try that again. All right, so first we're going to subtract the whole number, just like we did in the last strategy. So 4 minus 3 is 1, and I have 3/6. Okay, so I just subtracted the 3. Now I still have to take away 5/6. So I'm going to decompose this number this time. And basically I'm going to take this fraction, and I'm going to take this whole, and I'm separating it. Now this whole, I can just put 1 here, but I'm going to go ahead and make it 6 6s. So it's still 1 and 3/6, but I just decompose it this way because I can take 5 6s from 6 6, and that leaves 1 6. Now all I have to do is come back and add what was left over from my original decomposition to what I got when I subtracted, and that gives me the answer, which is 4 6s. Okay? All right, let's try that one more time. All right, so I'm going to subtract my whole number. 8 minus 2 is 6 and 3/10. Okay, so I just took away the 10. Now I have to take away 7/10. So I'm going to decompose this. I'm going to take 1 out. So that's going to leave 5 and 3/10, and this is going to be 1 whole. But I'm going to make it 10/10 so that I can subtract 7/10 from it, which gives me 3/10. Now all I have to do is put this number or this fraction back with this next number. So I've got 5 and 3/10 plus 3/10 equals 5 and 6/10. So if you can figure this strategy out, if you can understand what I'm subtracting, what I'm adding, this strategy certainly is much more efficient than than subtracting with a number line, because that seemed to take a lot longer, okay? All right, now we get to use any method that we want to. So I'm not sure which method you prefer. I'm going to go with the counting up strategy because that tends to be the easiest one for students to understand. You can use whatever strategy you want to, and then just check to see if we get the same answer. All right, so I'm going to start with the counting up strategy. So I've got 3 and 3/4, and I'm going to use the arrow method. I'm going to go to the next whole number, which is 4. So I have to add 1/4. And now I'm going to go from 4 to 6. so I have to add 2. And then I'm going to go from 6 to 6 1/4, so I have to add 1/4. Now I just have to go back and add all of these numbers together. 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 2/4, plus 2 is 2 2/4. So this is the counting up strategy. In my experience, this seems to be the easiest one for 4th graders to understand. So that's the one that's why this is the method that I choose to model. You may use whatever strategy you are most comfortable with. All right, so 2 7/8. I'm going to go to the next whole number, which is 3. So that means I'm going to add 1/8. And I'm going to go from 3 to 5. So I have to add 2. And then I'm going to go to 5 1/8. So I'm going to add 1/8. Now I'm just going to add all of these together. 1/8 plus 1/8 equals 2/8 plus 2. So I've got 2 2/8. All right, so now I've got 3 8/12. I'm going to go up to 4. So that means I add 4/12. And I'm going to go from 4 to 8, which means I'm adding 4. And then I'm going to go from 8 to 8 3/12, which means I'm adding 3/12. So I add my fractions together. That's 7/12 plus 4 is 4 7/12. Okay, I want you to pause the video and try to do this one all by yourself, and then come back and let's see if we get the same answer. All right, so I'm starting at 2 97/100. So I'm going to go to 3, which means I would have to add 3 hundredths, and I'm going to go from 3 to 5, which would be plus 2, and then from 5 to 5 1/100th, which means I'm going to add 1 100th. So 100th plus 300ths equals 4 100ths, so the answer would be 2 4 100ths. Okay, now we did 3 different strategies here. You're going to have to think about which of these strategies makes the most sense to you, and which one do you feel the most comfortable using when you get ready to do your exit slip today.